know that expression, you learn something new every day? Well, here on Paige's Lessons, I'm going to share with you a variety of insights and self-reflections that will inspire and motivate you to rethink how you process and experience life. I'll be giving my best advice on topics such as relationships, career, and overall life transitions. I can't wait to share these golden nuggets with you. Let's get started. And now a quick shout out to our sponsor. Feeling burnt out or overwhelmed lately? I totally understand because I've been there too. The good news is I'm offering a free handbook that helps you identify your top burnout symptoms and provides unique strategies to overcome those challenges. This book will give you a step-by-step process so you can rebuild your confidence and find true fulfillment. Download your free copy today from the link in the show notes or head on over to www.burnouthandbook.paigemitchell.coach. Now back to the episode. Today I want to talk about community and your efforts in making a support circle. I think there's a lot of times where we all feel really alone, really isolated, whether that's no one shares this experience with me that I'm going through, or I'm in so much pain, I just feel so alone, no one can understand, especially if you struggle with anxiety, depression, personality disorders. That definitely intensifies and is more frequent for others. And it's so important to know, do I have at least one human being that I can check in with, that I can just send a text to say, I'm not doing well, right? Like, is there at least one person who you don't need to be dependent on them? You don't need to, have them carry your weight and, make everything better, right? Like, I'm not saying this one person needs to fix you or fix the situation, but is one person in your group of friends or your family, can you identify somebody that will show up through the good, the bad, the ugly? And it's so important to think about, if this person exists, how do I want them to show up in my life? And how can I clearly communicate those expectations as well? I was chatting with a client who was expressing to me that in every area of her life, her relationships, her family, her work, all areas, there was an element of loneliness. And since that's a common theme, and she's also spiritual, she believes in God, and she prays, please God, send me a community, send me someone, a group of people, some person that is loving, caring, wants the best for me, will show up for me in my real shadow times. And, I'm a really direct person. And if I say something direct, are they going to get upset about it? Or can they actually just hold me accountable, right? All of these qualities, I challenged her to not only write down what are the physical, emotional characteristics of this person, of this community that you want to build, that you want to see. How can you get really crystal clear and even give examples? So the next time you're feeling low and you recognize those patterns. So for example, if you're feeling alone, maybe you eat everything in the fridge and you binge watch Netflix for 5 hours, whatever. Like, say that's just an example of something that happens when you feel alone, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. That was just an example. But if you already know those traits, then how do you want someone to show up for you? Do you want someone to text you first? Do you want to text them? And then when they reply, how do you want them to reply? How often? What type of communication are you looking for? Be really specific. Make an actual plan, or not plan, but just make an actual, like a perfect scenario. If I belong to a loving community, this is what it would look like. This is what it would sound like. This is where I would be living. This is how often I would see them. And just kind of fantasize for a bit and journal and just see what comes up. See if there's patterns. And when you do that, you are getting more clarity. And if you do believe in a higher power, you are sending that higher power a very clear message of this is exactly what I want. We don't know the how, and we're not responsible for how it's going to happen, but we are responsible for the what and the why. What is it that we want, and why do I want it? So it's basically saying, here's on paper my ideal situation of a community. I'm sending this, I'm releasing this to the universe, and then I'm going to take action. So I also challenged her too, what are the physical steps that you're doing to make this a reality? What are some tangible steps that you could do? Is that going on Meetup or another social app? Is it joining a Facebook group? Is it joining a club of interests that you like, whether that's karate or paddleboarding or a book club? Like, getting yourself out there is making that first step. And you can start with building your community with things that you want your friends to have in common. So if it is something about sports or movies or whatever, you can find that first. But what about your soul community? Where are those people at? The ones that resonate with your soul, that share the same values. That's a community where that based on the conversations and the way that you all show up for each other, that even if you miss something, like maybe you miss an event, they're not going to be mad at you. They're not going to hold any bitterness. They're there for you and they respect you. So wrapping this up, the things I mentioned in this podcast, journal your ideal community. Journal that. Name one or two people that already exist. What are their characteristics? What are their values? Why are you friends? Why are they a community and a support system for you? And release that. After you're super clear, let go of how and the when. And then take action for yourself. Take action into your own hands and make 1% change. Go online, go to your nearest local pub or your local gym or something like that. I know it's difficult with the pandemic. Do the best you can. Take time. Be gracious with yourself. Hopefully soon the pandemic will get better. I'm only hopeful. So we can go back to semi-normal again, and where it can feel a little bit more safe to build a community. But in the meantime, figure out what it is you want, who you want to show up for you and why, and just take the next smallest step you can to making that happen.